Hello, it's James from the panel company here. Today we're going to be talking about the installation of these shower panels that you see behind me. Now these panels could not be easy to fit. They offer a practical yet stylish, low maintenance finish. Let's get to it.
To begin with, you want to work from the ground up. The Clad seal strip ensures a watertight seal around a bath or shower tray. We also recommend Clad seal end caps, which are attached to the end of the Clad seal strip. This will ensure that no silicone is exposed. On top of the shower tray is where the Clad seal strip is installed. You will also use the Clad seal strip if you are fitting around a bath. To begin installing your Clad seal strip, you will first need to measure from the corner of the shower tray to the end on the two sides that are against the wall. Using a fine-tooth handsaw, you can now cut the Clad seal trim to size. On the two ends of the Clad seal strip, which will meet in the corner of the shower tray, use a fine-tooth handsaw and a mitre block to ensure a flush finish. Now that we've test fitted the Clad seal strips, we can now permanently install it by running a line of silicone on the underside. Level off the silicone using a spatula. The spatula can be found on the optional end caps. Before installing the Clad seal strip, you'll also want to run a bead of silicone along the surface of the shower tray and along the surface of the wall. This is to ensure that the bead of silicone on the shower tray bonds with the silicone that we placed along the strip to create a watertight finish. Once installed, wipe away any excess silicone. Install the end caps by pushing them into place. Before we fit the wall panels, we need to install the one-piece internal corner trim. To do this, we're going to measure from where the panel will sit on the Clad seal strip to the ceiling and then cut the internal corner to the correct length using a fine-tooth saw. We can now permanently install it by running a line of silicone on the underside. When installing the internal corner, apply pressure to the top and bottom to ensure a good bond with the surface of the wall. Once installed, you can now remove any protective film from the trim. Using the same measurements that we used to fit the internal corner, we are going to cut and install the wall panels. In this video, we are going to show two different methods in which you can cut your wall panel. The first method we are going to use is with a Stanley knife. Flip the panel so the design side is facing upwards. Using the measurements from earlier, measure out the length of the panel. Add a mark at the correct measurement and then using a ruler or spare piece of trim, draw a straight line across the panel. Install a new blade into the Stanley knife and score across the line we drew earlier. Repeat this step a few times. Once scored, apply moderate pressure to the end of the panel to snap it off. The next method for cutting the panels is to use a fine-tooth saw like we used to cut the trims. We only recommend this option if you have a sharp fine-tooth saw to prevent damaging the bottom of the panel. This time, place the panel with the design facing down. Again, using the measurements from earlier, measure out the panel and leave a mark at the correct measurement. Using a ruler or spare piece of trim, draw a straight line across the panel. Using the handsaw, cut along the straight line. We are now going to go on to the installation of the wall panels themselves. Apply a generous amount of adhesive to the reverse side of the panel in a zigzag pattern. If some areas of your wall are uneven, use extra adhesive to compensate for this. Apply pressure to the top, middle and bottom of the panel to ensure it adheres correctly to the wall. If you are using plasterboard, you can use a staple gun to staple the tongue of the first panel to ensure it doesn't move while the adhesive sets. You can also use a screw to do this, but just ensure you don't damage the face of the panel. If you have used this method, ensure any staples or screws are flush with the tongue so it doesn't catch on the next panel when you install it. It's now time to install the second panel. First, run a bead of silicone into the groove of the first panel before slotting the next one in to make it watertight. If any silicone seeps out of the face of the panel, remove it immediately with a damp cloth. If you have a tiled surface, then the panels can be installed directly over the tiles using silicone. Once installed, if your panel has a protective film, you can remove this now. You can now repeat this process for the remainder of the wall. For this installation design, we have used two different panels from the same collection. We will leave a link in the description where you can buy these panels. Now that the panels have been installed, you are now ready to install the finishing trims. To begin installing the quadrant trim, we first need to measure the area shown in the video. Once we have the measurements, we can now cut the trim. Where the trim will be meeting in the corner, use a miter block to cut the correct angle. Again, as done previously, test fit the trim to ensure it fits and then apply a bead of silicone to the underside and push it into place. You can now remove any protective film that was on the front of the trim.
Right, so it really is that easy to get a finish like this behind us. Now, remember, I've only used basic DIY tools that anybody will have at home. I've not used any power tools here, so it really is quite straightforward to fit. Now, remember guys, we do have plenty of different colours available and different styles. If you've got any questions, please give us a call or log on to panelcompany.co.uk. Find us on Facebook or on YouTube. Thanks a lot, guys.